Welcome to For Mannerless Women. I'm your host, Adelle Onyango, and this is a space that is committed to nurturing a new generation of shame-free women who are ready to meet their best selves. In this episode, we unpack menopause with Veronica. She's the founder of the Ova Circle, and she's also a certified menopause workplace coach. Thank you for making time to be with us here.
Thanks for having me
on our show. I feel like the first time we met was hair related, and now I have no hair.
Yeah,
but like,
yes, right.
Because in the other hat you run as a business.
Yes,
it's in the wigs space, and it's so wonderful that then we meet with you doing something that is helping so many women.
That's called reinvention, baby.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it a little later.
Right.
But I know the work you're doing now is fueled by your own personal journey.
Right.
When it comes to menopause and destigmatizing it and creating community for women who are going through the symptoms of menopause, right?
Right.
What was that personal journey to get to what you do now?
All right. My journey started out quite challenging.
Okay.
When I was in the menopause transition.
Okay.
Right. I don't know if we need to define the menopause transition, because you have menopause, which is a single day.
Yes.
The day that marks 12 months without a period.
Yeah.
Most people think menopause is the whole entire phase. Menopause is just a single day. And the period leading up to menopause is perimenopause.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the phase I'm in now.
Okay.
Right? So perimenopause is really hormonally chaotic, which is marked by many symptoms, right? So my challenge was basically like, I did not know what to expect in the perimenopause transition, or called the menopause transition.
Because first we never talked about it and we didn't know it existed.
Yeah, we were prepared for like what to expect when you're expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're prepared for what to expect before menstruation. You know, you're told about the physical changes to expect, how menstruation manifests, like the sighting of blood, etc., etc. And then it also comes with that fear of now you can get pregnant, right? And which is another concept we need to challenge, because there's also stigma around that. But then when it comes to menopause, perimenopause, like there's crickets. Yeah. I was never prepared for menopause, perimenopause. So during my own personal transition, I started getting all these symptoms that I could not understand, right? Let me just run you through it, right?
What were you feeling? What did it start with?
It started with insomnia. I could not understand how come I can't sleep.
All of a
sudden I cannot sleep.
Yeah.
And I also had tinnitus for about 9 to 12 months. And
what is that?
Tinnitus is a ringing in your ears, right? So I went to a number of ENT specialists, and I was just told to live with it, right? Pretty much. And one actually even gave me like benzos to help me sleep, because with tinnitus, you cannot sleep. It really impacts the quality of your life, right? And aside from that, I did not change my diet or my exercise routine, but I noticed that I was not fitting in my clothes quite well.
Yeah.
And it really, like when your body starts to change, it really also changes how you show up in the world. Fatigue. So I thought it was the insomnia causing the fatigue. Yeah.
Then
there was joint pain.
Yeah.
Migraines.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So basically I felt like I was breaking, right? Yeah. And then one symptom that I really also struggled with was like the mood swings, right? There's something known as perimenopausal change, rage, right? At that time, I did not know that's what it's called, because again, remember
we didn't know,
right?
We
Yes,
didn't talk about it.
We did not talk about it. So a lot of mood disturbances, like just wake up and have a low mood, and you don't really understand. Okay, why, right? What's going
wrong?
on?
What triggered this? Yeah.
So during this phase, at the time I was, I'd say, 40. And throughout between 40 and 42, there was all these symptoms in and out, up and down, up and down. I was just not feeling like myself.
Yes.
And that is a symptom of the menopause transition. Just not feeling like yourself. But how many of us can go to a doctor and say, I'm just not feeling like myself?
And then look at you like, so is it a migraine?
Right.
Is it?
What do you mean you're not feeling like yourself, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so, and then one sign that that should have like put off alarm bells in my head was an irregular period. I'd always been regular, but all of a sudden from a 28-day cycle, it was 36 days, 24 days, 21 days. At one point I felt like, am I always on my period? For goodness sake, like what is this?
Yes.
Like, yeah. So of course, Google University told me that, I could be stressed. Nothing to do with perimenopause.
And like, how do I solve that? Like, what are you saying?
Like, I'm stressed, but I was like, okay, I don't feel stressed. Like, okay, maybe
now I'm stressed about
maybe I'm stressed. Okay, maybe it's my business. Maybe it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's COVID that's stressing me and stuff like that. So you look for every excuse except menopause, right? Anyway, where am I?
And the worst thing is also just feeling like something's wrong with me alone, not that this is a shared experience with other women.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to summarize this, but Adelle, I went to quite a number of doctors, but really none of the doctors that I saw pinpointed it that I could be going through perimenopause or it was hormonally influenced, right? And so I said, okay, it's maybe if I fix the mood disturbances, I could fix everything else. Maybe I'll sleep better. So I went to see a therapist, right? And this is where everything pretty much turned for me. And not because she it's just something she said maybe by mistake that switched on the bulb, right? So I did not go to any normal therapist. Let me tell you, I went to a hypnotherapist.
Okay.
Because I thought my issues were so bad.
They're beyond
that I needed hypnosis to be able to fix me. I don't know how many you've ever been there, but you're like, nah. It's not CB, it's CBT. Nah. I need hypnosis, right? Anyway, we did not even really get to the hypnosis part. Like, because during the initial consultation, she pissed me off. Remember I told you about
there's such a one.
The rage. She really pissed me off. And I was actually walking out of the session, and she told me, Vero, I don't think your issue really has to do with hypnosis. You really don't need hypnosis. First of all, I think you're drinking a lot of alcohol to cope with your symptoms. And I think you might be perimenopausal. And I was like, what the hell is that?
And also she's irritated you.
She's really irritated me. But it stuck. And then I'm somebody who really does a lot of research. So that's when I went down the rabbit hole. Perimenopause, started reading, searching up information about what is this perimenopause. Imagine at 40, 41 is the first time I'm hearing the word perimenopause.
And you're in the thick of it.
And so it opened up a new world that I never knew existed. That I did not know this is a phase to be expected. And these symptoms are the symptoms that come with this phase.
I was going to ask, how did it feel seeing your symptoms?
I was so happy. I felt, you feel like this could be it. And if this is it, it means that I can fix it. Right?
And it has a name.
It has a name. It's not I know there's a thin line between pathology hunting and actually feeling seen or feeling validated. So anyway, pretty much that's where I was. And that's when I discovered this could be the menopause transition, or I am in perimenopause, right? And that's pretty much the long and short about how I discovered and how now that's led me to create the community that is now known as the Ova Circle, which is a community of women. And all of us are in the menopausal transition. And basically in that space, it's about supporting each other, educating each other, awareness. And it's just a space where women in the transition can feel seen, heard, understood.
Less alone.
Because I really felt so alone in my journey. And I was like, I can't be alone. This can't be it. So I was like, I'm gonna put up a post on Instagram and open up a WhatsApp community so that women can join and we can try to figure this all out together. Adelle, within 2 months, the WhatsApp community was full. It still is full. And that really affirmed and validated my experience. And also which led me now to where I am today.
I wanted to take you back.
Take me back.
You're scrolling. First, you've gone to see these doctors. Who are telling you just live with your symptoms.
Or have take antidepressants.
We're just treating the symptom.
This
we're
is
not
normal.
figuring out what's causing them. Right. But then you do your research and you say, hey, sounds like what I'm experiencing. Do you go back to see any doctors, and how do they react if you do? Because I want us to unpack like the gaps in healthcare when it comes to women going through the transition, if they're perimenopausal or in menopause.
I feel like asking you what doctor. Because
actually that's a really good question. Because who would you go see?
Like who? Okay. Who? So. No, I did not go back to see a doctor because it's about the lack of information. So that's a gap. The lack of awareness. Like just being totally unprepared. So you don't even know where to start. Like, okay, if I'm going to see an OBGYN, am I even really equipped with the right knowledge to be able to advocate for myself when I go see a doctor
in that space, hey, no, I think it's this,
or will I go see a doctor? These are the questions I was asking myself and be told these are normal things, just your mother went through it and just familiar just power through for the non-Swahili speakers, just power through and stuff like that. So there's that gap. What doctor? You know what? And also like within the community, and I have come to meet some amazing doctors who really are passionate about the menopausal care space in the work I'm doing with the Ova Circle. So even in engaging with these doctors, we have some in the community as well who can answer some of the members' questions and give them answers. And of course, not to give individual consultative advice, but just general speak, right? And I've come to discover that in medical school, they only get maybe 3-4 hours of training on menopause. So that therein is already a huge gap. And you know what? Every woman who lives long enough is going to experience menopause or go through the menopause transition. So why is that gap there? So it's actually made me so angry and so sad at the same time that you reach a certain phase of your life and
you're forgotten.
It's like you're discarded. You're no longer important once your reproductive years are over.
And which is terrible because
actually it's pissed me off.
You're like,
it's pissed me off. It pisses me off every single day. It's like a daily dose, like a supplement.
Because it should be like such a beautiful thing. The more life you get to see is a beautiful thing, right? And so we should be approaching women aging or going through different phases, right, as something good. Like, how can we make sure that you're comfortable throughout? Not only when we can extract from you, be it babies or like whatever. We just want to make sure that you can still thrive even through the changes that come with womanhood.
What you've said just now is one of our missions at the Ova Circle. Right? You've really like packaged it pretty well. You just want to ensure that women have the support they need at every phase of their life.
Can we unpack just a bit more the gaps in healthcare, right? So they spend like 3 hours talking about menopause, right? In medical school.
Right.
What other issues do you see in terms of like how doctors you're I'm ready. What other issues do you see?
I'm going to talk from my personal experience, right? What I say does not speak for everybody. Right? This is my own personal experience,
which is very valid. Let me validate it for you.
So misinformation. There's there's that as well, because now the world seems to have discovered that, okay, this is a space where we can make money off women. Yeah. So there's a lot of fear mongering and misinformation when it comes to disseminating information about menopause and menopausal care, even when it comes to hormonal therapy. So there's a lot of fear mongering and, fear sells, right? Yeah. So it's rich. Let me give you one example. There's, and a lot of social media influencers, some who are even doctors, who say things that are not evidence-backed. Yeah. They're not according to the menopause guidelines. Yeah. And then if you question it, let me tell you, I have read the guidelines from cover to cover, right? Yeah. So, and if you question them, they say what they're saying exists in data-free zones, which I feel is also a disservice to women, because I'm for research, I'm from evidence-backed, because we also do not want to do a disservice to women, right? So, for example, selling fear in this, let's say, let me just give you some stuff, some things I've heard. Like, if you don't take hormonal therapy, you cannot thrive through the menopause transition. But that's not true. That's not true. Or if you don't take, if you don't replace your estrogen or estradiol, then you're going to get dementia or a cardiovascular disease. But that's not true. Yeah. I think women, we need to know that we can still thrive through menopause without, first of all, over-medicalizing it. Yeah. And second of all, we need to realize that menopause is not all about our symptoms, right? A lot of the spiel online is about symptoms. And I know that's where I started and that's where my journey started. And I accept that. But then the thing is, aside from symptoms, what else is there to menopause, right? Yeah.
And there's something you talk about. I love this because in earlier episodes, we talked to a doctor you've done work with in your community, Dr. Kenya. And she lists various options and she always starts with nutrition, fitness, right? And something you are passionate about is holistic approaches to menopause, right? What do you mean by that? Because a lot of people, when we only get sold the symptoms, we treat it as we do other conditions that have symptoms, which means medicine. So when you say holistic, what do you mean by that?
When I talk about a holistic approach, first of all, I love Dr. Kenya. And that's one of the reasons that we partnered with her at Ova, right? When I talk about holistic, your menopausal symptoms don't exist in a vacuum, right? First of all, every woman will experience menopause differently. That's one thing I need to point out, And your symptoms don't exist on its own in a vacuum. It's a whole ecosystem, right? Yeah. And many factors actually attribute to how mild or severe your symptoms are, such as your lifestyle, such as it could be your genetics. It could also be your state of mind, your level of stress, also your economic position, level of literacy. Women who've been abused or traumatized in the past actually have more severe symptoms, for example. So it's a whole ecosystem with many factors that determine how you experience your menopausal symptoms. So it's not like one thing.
One size fits all.
One size. Oh, it's just not, you just don't have symptoms. And not every woman will experience severe symptoms. Some women will go through the transition with very mild symptoms, right? So there's really, really a myriad of factors that attribute to how you experience the transition. That's what we also need to educate on, right?
And I hear you, which is why it's so dangerous to go online. Not only are you sharing information that has no backing of data or research, but to share one narrative.
And then, so what is the goal of sharing one aspect? Is it financial? So most of the time, I always tell women, even in the community, like, if someone has something to sell you, then you should already already be like,
have some discernment.
If they're trying to tell you about something I've heard again in the misinformation landscape. If they're telling you you're going to get dementia if you don't take hormone therapy, do a bit more research. And is that according to the guidelines? Because Adele, it's not. It is not, right? There's many, many reasons why hormonal therapy is a great, great tool. Is it a tool? A great option for women, like for vasomotor symptoms, which are like hot flashes, for women who have a predisposition to osteoporosis, and others, right? I'm not going to list them off here in case I get them wrong. I don't want to say I spread misinformation myself, right? However, there's other indications that are not according to the guidelines.
And knowledge is power.
Right.
But also when you're gathering the knowledge, I think it's important to practice discernment. I'm learning that as well, because yes, we're in this age where information is at our fingertips.
Yeah, the age of technology.
And it's like 15 seconds, someone is selling you something, you don't realize it's a sell.
Yeah.
So I'm also trying to tell myself, practice discernment. When you receive this information, tear it apart and be like, okay, does this make sense for me? No, I don't think so. I'm not comfortable with this. Or this, I need to ask someone else. Like, is this true? I think that's also a tool like women need to go into the space with, right? There's something else you talk about that when I heard it first from you, I had to be like, oh, I am actually quite ashamed that I've never actually thought about these two things, menopause and the workplace. Because I think my head was so caught up in menstruation and the workplace, right?
Yes, right.
And like, or if childcare in the workplace, like, you know, how do you, so I was just like, actually, I've never actually thought of menopause and the workplace. So these two words exist in a sentence, which is very important for you, right?
Very, very important.
Why? Why do you think? Obviously, we know, like, we should be considerate, but maybe you can break down the why a bit more.
Right. Okay, so early on in my transition, now so that was when I was 40, 41. Okay, I'm now 47. My experience right now in perimenopause is nothing compared to what it was when I did not have information. And right now with the information, I feel more empowered. And I am aware of what options I have in case I'm really struggling with a particular symptom. And so it hit me back then. Now, as I started figuring out how to thrive in this phase. So I looked at lifestyle modifications. I looked at exercise. I looked at my nutrition. And I looked at things that were no longer serving me. So stress management techniques. I'm getting to your workplace question, by the way.
No, I feel it. I feel like coming.
Stress management techniques. Stress is just not good. It's not good for many reasons that like I won't get into right now. I looked at my sleep and I listened to what the therapist said. I looked at my alcohol. And it's true. I was using that daily glass or two of wine as a way of coping with my symptoms. But you know what? That same alcohol was disrupting my sleep. It was making me a more stressed person. It was like
even the sweats,
the inflammation. I'd take a glass, 3 sips of wine, and my face was hot, so it would trigger my hot flashes. But I was like powering through, even though I'm coping. This is helping me. I used to think it's helping me sleep. So when it comes to lifestyle modifications, I was like, okay, some things just got to go right now.
There's no value now.
Because it was affecting the quality of my life. So sometimes you need to do a lifestyle audit. And really, really ask yourself the questions. Is this really helping you right now? I always say, okay, I might be living a sober life now, but if you see me drinking when I hit menopause, and maybe the hormone profile is more stable, don't ask me anything. I'm not the same person. But this is not to say like I'm not judging people who choose to have any alcohol or anything. This is my personal decision, and it helped me immensely. The hot flashes literally disappeared. The inflammation, the joint pain. I'm sleeping like a baby. Also, I was relying a lot on the wine and energy drinks during the day. So like it was just
Yeah.
It was just
and
like
also
coping.
they could come with more problems. You're using them to soothe this, but they might be coming and creating other problems.
It's being researched that during this phase, a lot of women actually end up being physiologically dependent on substances, and substance abuse actually goes up in the 40s because of coping. It's coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm not the same person I was when I was 42, 41. With lifestyle interventions, I did my own personal audit.
Yeah.
I removed things that no longer serve me.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I got to take control.
Yes.
Yeah. And anyway, which led me to start wondering, like, women, I don't have an 8 to 5, 9 to 5. I started wondering and reflecting, like, okay, how do women who don't have this information and have to show up in the workplace, how do they cope? Every day, you've not slept, maybe for 4 or 5 nights in a row. And
you have to perform.
You have to perform.
Yeah.
They still have KPIs. I keep even saying, some they say they have KPIs in the workplace, and the ones who are partnered up have KPIs in the bedroom, in the kitchen. Is that allowed on this podcast? Yeah. So and then it that feeds the environment of stress as well, right? You know. So that's what I really started reflecting on, and I just felt like, wow, it really, really must be hard. And I was like, if I did not know, I can bet you that many women in this society are not aware or prepared for menopause. And they do not know what they can do within their control right now to help offset the symptoms. Or just to empower them, you know, just knowing. Remember, I told you when I knew what was going on, and then when I knew what I could do, it really empowered me. Like I'm not like helpless. Like I have that choice to be able to choose and say, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore. Let me see if this works. All right. I work in a very stressful environment. How can I inculcate like stress management techniques? Like so we talk about like going for a walk, deep breathing
during the work day, right?
Or something just like, or you know, like learn how to do like mindful. They don't have to be 30-minute long. Can be 5-minute mindfulness and stuff like that. So anyway, so that's when I started thinking about women in the workplace. So I started off by getting certified to coach women in the workplace. So right now I'm a CPD certified menopause workplace coach.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And it's something that is really passion driven. Again, from my own personal experience. So it's just totally fueled by passion. And what I do together with my team at Ova is we reach out to corporates, reach out to HR or line managers, or people who are decision makers. And we send out our proposal and say, the women in your organization need this information. You know why, Adelle? In this year that we are in, 2025, 1 billion women globally are going to be in menopause. Or going through the menopause transition. Women in their 40s are really quite at the peak of their careers. And also, like I'd say the compelling sell we have for corporates is, you know what? You want to retain your best skill. You want your team to remain productive. It really costs you more to train new skill than to retain the skill that you have. And also support the women in your organization. I'm really talking
for you. It also works for them. Let's say it's a selfish organization. It still works for you.
Exactly.
You know, at the end of the day.
And you know what? Of course, initially there's a lot of pushback. Corporates will not listen. I was like, no, they're gonna have to listen eventually, because remember when we started out with like breastfeeding rooms, and now we do have some companies that actually support their women, and they have breastfeeding rooms and stuff like that. Why can we not also make our organizations menopause-friendly workplaces? And it doesn't really need to take a lot.
What would it look like for a workplace?
I'll just mention some things that some things off the top of my head, right? For one, we've already covered that. The benefit of awareness and education.
Yes.
Right. Just your staff knowing that this is what you've done for them, and also for them as women knowing this is what to expect.
Yeah.
You're already like 90%.
Yes.
You've already won 90% of it. Just in knowing, right? And then when we talk about menopause-friendly workplaces, it also involves talking to your managers and your HR, because even them knowing the relation between the employees and the people that manage the team, there's it helps them with understanding and empathy
and a sensitivity, right?
Exactly. It doesn't mean that we're all about our hormones and we cannot do anything and we are being controlled by our hormones. No, I want to be very careful about that. Because we don't want to get to a place where women are sidelined from promotions because of menopause. Right? That's why I'm really also careful with the over medicalization, because we do not want to dig ourselves dig our own grave, because we're just like, oh my goodness. No, we want to empower women with information, and we want the workplaces to support those women, right? In that space, right? So with your line managers or your HR, being able to understand, if possible, you can look at hybrid or flexi hours. Not every day. It's not every day that you feel awful, because if we've educated you about your options, you're going to start working. So you move from a place where you're just simply surviving symptoms to a place where you're thriving. Let me tell you, it feels great when you unlock that level of thriving. And thriving can involve anything. It can involve lifestyle. It can involve medical options. It can involve all of those.
But you're in control.
And you need a toolkit. And the toolkit is not like, it doesn't have to be complicated, right? It's just about, again, awareness and knowing what your options are, right?
I think so.
And then also, like, even having little fans for the women, or a cooler place for women who have hot flashes. Because hot flashes, they're no joke for women who really, really struggle with them, right? So, So little tweaks here and there. And also just the feeling of feeling supported. It's
I was gonna say, like, if you're in a space that sees you beyond, what you do in the company, right? If you punch in numbers, they see you and they care, like, are you okay? That they care. You even just feel like you can thrive in that space.
You're going to thrive. When employees feel supported, they will thrive. They will thrive, right?
And so I want us to go to, I know you've talked a bit about you're not where you were when you were getting into your 40s, 41, 42, where you are now.
Right.
What does your toolkit look like today?
Where do I start? Okay, so my toolkit today, I think I pretty much already said it, but let me just take you. Take
me through your day, or the interventions.
Or the interventions.
Okay. So we know alcohol is out.
Alcohol sadly had to go. But also now when it had to go, I'm like, okay, I should have stopped earlier. I'm like,
and it's not impossible.
I was like, okay. So now I'm like, my only regret is like I didn't stop earlier. Like now I started thinking like all those years in my 30s. Anyway, so there's that. I've looked more at my nutrition. In terms of trying to eat more balanced. So we work with an amazing nutritionist at Ova, where I have learned so much in terms of like a balanced plate, getting my macros in, meaning my carbs, my protein, and my vegetables, making sure I get enough fiber. By the way, you know what? I used to supplement a lot when I was trying to fix my symptoms. Right now, I should show you what was in my supplement drawer. It had hundreds of supplements. But you know what's interesting? Right now, I'm really like down to maybe 2 supplements.
Wow.
I used to take everything. I used to take, let me just name supplements you've never heard. I used to be like on GABA, melatonin, tryptophan.
Melatonin, was it the sleep?
I was even berberine. Like I was trying everything. I had a whole supplement stack. I was on NAC, whatnot, zinc. Anyway, so I looked at my nutrition. And so now I know supplements are helpful for many, especially where you're deficient.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, we have all these companies that want to sell you a supplement for menopause. And I'm really like, okay, again, that's where the capitalism comes in. Like, you need to really invest a lot of money in supplements. So I've really also whittled down on what supplements I'm taking. So I do an omega-3 and magnesium only, right? So that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And then also supplements should, in the word, it's supplementing. So the best option is to get
tested.
Not only get tested, your nutrition. What is on your plate? Like, how can we maximize where you're getting certain things from? Right.
Although I did do some blood work, my vitamin D was low, so I also do a vitamin D supplement, which apparently I've come to learn that a lot of people are deficient in. Do you take a vitamin D supplement?
No. So I got tested and I was okay. But it's also because of where I stay. Like, it's also lifestyle. Right. So a lot of us will drive to the office and we'll sit in the office. Even on a sunny day, you're sitting in the office. Right. And I intentionally, because of my doctor, my levels weren't bad, but she was like, you need to be outside.
So do you get a lot of sun exposure when you're working and stuff like that? Yeah. So that's nutrition. So I looked at my nutrition, switched it all up. I was doing a lot of processed foods, like a lot. I mean, not to say processed foods are bad. Something I've also learned is a lot of foods are processed. Like, even, do you know what a processed food is? Or, because a lot of people think like yogurt is not a processed food. Like, you get.
Actually, I was told, look at it by one of the guests this season, Coach Roseanne. She says, you want your plate to have things as close to what they look like in the nature. Farm.
Yes, right.
And not anything altered, right? So I was like, that's such a beautiful way to think about it, because then when you say something like yogurt, then you start thinking, actually, it's gone through something.
It's gone through some process, but not all processed food is bad. Let me just say bad, because really with food is food. There's really no bad or good foods, right? So not all should be like blacklisted, because like Greek yogurt is really, really good, and like yogurt with probiotics and stuff like that. So so I looked at my plate and I just tried to tweak it a little here and there.
I think you did a good job.
I was like, okay, so the bacon has to go. Like, maybe not
bacon
completely,
is still on my plate.
But once in a while, and it's not like totally banned. It's just trying to like just to figure out how I can do better, how my plate can look better nutritionally, right? Just looking at food at a plate, like what it gives me nutritionally, like fruit and veg, which is nice and stuff like that. So with nutrition, I've really learned together with the nutritionist at Ova how to do better, how to make better food choices. Not that any food choices are bad. I'm really trying to be careful here.
But it's like, what do I need now? And how much of what? Right?
In terms of nutrition.
In terms of nutrition. Fitness as well, because like when we had our call, you were on the treadmill. And I have seen your social media. It's active.
I'm active. I'd say,
which is wonderful.
Fitness has been a big part of my life, and it continues to be. What can I say? That's just it's.
Did it help with it? Was it one of the things in your toolkit, like to help you navigate this transition?
Absolutely. I think it's number one in my toolbox. Fitness is like really, really number one, right? Like with I don't know where I'd be without my workouts. So what I do is, strength training, cardio, like at least five to 6 times a week. Just being active. So being active and
moving.
And moving. What else?
Stress management. Because there's a workplace and then there's business. And I know you're an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, right.
So what are the things you started doing to like manage your stress better?
I just say don't sweat the small stuff. Honestly, like I have a friend who says like she finds the word stress management, I don't know what word she uses, very like cliche. Like, okay, she always hears stress management. And she's like, what the hell is that? Like, when you're stressed, it's really how are you stress managing? Like, like if you're stressed because of a circumstance, let's say it's a financial circumstance, the stress is there. What do you mean stress management? Like, maybe for me, I was gonna say, like, when I say don't sweat the small stuff, it can sound very dissociative, but sometimes I'm like, I don't have my coping mechanism. So sometimes I'm just like, you know what, I'm not going to sweat it. And that works for me. Like, I'm like, you know what, it's not going to kill me right now. It's not today.
You know what has been a game changer for me, which I wish I started earlier. And I used to listen to all these podcasts about it. It's such a small thing that is journaling.
Oh, yeah?
And I had read some research that was done that said during the pandemic, obviously, globally, our stress levels were communally high, right? People were losing jobs, people were losing their clothes, like people were dying. You didn't know, do I have it? Do I not? So you're in a constant state of anxiety, right? And they said that the thing that they saw made the most impact was journaling. They were like, there were all of these other things people were doing, but journaling.
Do you write down?
And so I started, like, I used to, but I was very like, I'd stop, like, a journal one day, 10 weeks I don't. And so I started doing, like, every morning, like, I scheduled it in. And oh my God, I don't know what the science is, but for me, I started when I was in, like your friend is saying, in the middle of stressing something. Right. And all of a sudden I could, and the app I use prompts you, right? And all of a sudden I could see life outside of this stressful issue. Like all of a sudden it wasn't the only thing that consumed or was the definition of my life at the time. I could remember, someone gave me this nice thing today, or this person made me laugh, or I felt seen by this person. And all of a sudden this thing, yes, it's stressful. Yes, it's important. But on the plate of what's going on in my life, it's just one thing. There are also these other things.
Right.
I don't know why I didn't start like journaling.
How long have you done it?
I think I'm on the 2nd month, but I saw a shift within 7 days. It's so weird.
I'm going to try.
Within 7 days.
I'm going to try journaling.
Yeah.
I'm going to try.
Like, I know we put resources. The app I use is called Gratitude.
It's called Gratitude.
Yeah.
So you do an electronic journal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it prompts you. I think that's what it does, because if I'm left to journal about whatever, I'm only going to talk about this stressful thing, right?
Right.
But if you prompt me and say, tell me about something that made you happy yesterday. And I pause and I think, and I'm like, oh yeah, actually I saw this and it made me so, and it expands my perspective.
Wow.
So I don't know.
So journaling is
yes.
It's those things like the therapist who told me about. It's something that I could take out of here, and then it sticks with me, and I start doing, and I notice a difference. So that's why I like that you shared that as well.
So because stress is, as you said, is the baseline for so many other chronic illnesses, especially for women.
Yeah, right.
And that's why I'm just like, I've got to get the stress thing figured out.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the exercise helps the stress.
Yeah.
And I always take time to be grateful. Like every night, I'm like, before I go to bed. You know, sometimes the world is moving so fast that sometimes you're not even grateful that for your health.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I have the ability. Okay, maybe you're financially impacted, but then if you look at it like being able, I have my faculties of thinking. I can get up, I can walk. That means I can do something about that. So it's a blessing. Like I'm able to do something about this situation. So, and also having even your mental health in order. Yeah. Because there's so much happening.
Is working against us.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah. So there's that, the gratitude, you know. I also do a bit of crazy things here and there.
Like?
I love ice bathing. So I feel like, I started getting anxiety in perimenopause, and I was one of those people who never understood anxiety until perimenopause came knocking. So I would not understand being anxious. Yeah. And I was like, I was on the internet. I was like, the ice bath thing. But for me, it works maybe because it's able to slow down my breathing.
Wow.
And it's something I do like at least twice a week.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's for me. Yes,
Yeah.
I feel it's a game changer,
Yeah.
right? I know deep breathing exercises really work for a lot of people in terms of, stress management as well. Do you do deep breathing?
And I was going to say with anxiety, why that ice bath would also work is like you're also told you can hold ice. Oh, like if you're going through because I actually battle anxiety. Right. So like if you go and just hold either ice or something cold, I don't know the science behind it. But it almost brings you back to
awareness, maybe.
Yeah.
Because
I would see how I wouldn't get into the ice bath. But I'm happy it's working for you.
So my love of cold showers, like every morning, for some reason it helps me regulate my breathing. Yeah. So that's the first thing I do in the morning is regulate my breathing. If I can't really like prepare my ice bath, I'll just do like a cold shower. I just swear by it. Yeah, it's really helped a lot.
I just love how open you are about your own personal journey and that you didn't only fix it for yourself, but even what you're doing with the workplace is like, hey, but if I battled it and I'm not a 9 to 5, I want to help those other women as well. I think that's commendable. Right. To women who are watching this and want to be part of your community, want to join Ova Circle, and we've heard the WhatsApp group got full. I'm like, is there another one? Like, can you open two more?
Okay. Before I answer that, I want to also say that apart from the lifestyle modifications that I've mentioned, what I've done that works for me, the reason I could make these choices was because I am aware, I'm educated, and I know about them. Let me just talk a bit about there's something known as vaginal atrophy.
So what is that?
It is, so as your estrogen declines, you start experiencing like a lot of vaginal dryness, and sometimes it gets really bad for some women that even their labia minora dry up. We've had a conversation with one of the doctors of the Ova, and it disappears. You go back to pre-puberty where you don't have your labia minora, and it's a very uncomfortable situation. So what I noticed was like I was waking up a lot at night to go and pee. Like it would totally disrupt my sleep. And we've talked about how everything feeds on everything else, right? Sleep, if you don't sleep well. So I was waking up all the time to pee, And in the Ova community, I was having a conversation with the doctor, and that's when I discovered there's vaginal estrogen cream.
Yes.
And let me tell you, I don't know how it worked, but it worked. Yeah. And you see, just knowing there's that.
And knowing removes even the shame. So now you're like, it's not, something's not wrong with me.
Something is not wrong with me. Yes. Like, and you see, like with there's a lot of UTIs, a lot of peeing, a lot of dryness. So also in my toolbox, I've not started hormonal therapy yet. I always tell everybody, like, if my symptoms are so severe, like my hot flashes are so severe that I can't sleep and then it impacts the quality of my life, definitely open to it. But like vaginal estrogen cream works locally. It's not like systemic. Yeah. So that's also in my toolbox. Yeah. Like you see this. So it's about also being open to whatever options, but you can only know what your options are if you know what to expect. So even when you go to a doctor, you'll be like, by the way, I know, and you can advocate for yourself. It's about
it gives you power.
That is it. That agency. Is it. Yeah. Did your mom tell you? Did our mothers tell us like what to expect?
I was just saying in an earlier episode, we would just see our aunts with fans, and I used to think, oh, they're so fancy. I didn't know they were experiencing. Or you notice
a lot of like the weight, belly weight gain. Then you're like, okay, that's how a middle-aged woman looks. And I'm also challenging that perception, because even when you go online and you see what a middle-aged woman looks like, it's
especially
it's saddening.
And I feel like then that bleeds into shame. And if you're in that space as a woman, you then don't even reach out to look for knowledge, because you go deeper into something's wrong with me. And I'm not worthy to be in certain spaces. I'm not, something's wrong with me. And getting you out of there is harder. But like with this knowledge, this I think can help.
And coupled with ageism, I think we had mentioned, like when we spoke on the phone, there's the ageism factor. We live in a very ageist society. Yeah. You have anti-wrinkle creams.
Yes.
In fact, my little rebellion is I'm never using any anti-anything cream because it pisses me off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and you see, that's where the focus is because...
And it's all visual. It's aesthetic.
It's aesthetic like and stuff like that.
So I completely agree with you because with aging, it's like, how do we make you age aesthetically pleasing instead of how do we ensure you're thriving and you're healthy?
And your health span, even if you're aging strongly. There's such a word. You get? Yeah.
And being able to do the things that you love doing.
Okay.
And being able to show up, which speaks to health and not how do I have wrinkles or not? Like, no, right?
So another thing I want to touch on before I talk about where to find us at Ova Circle is centering the African woman's story and experience. That gap really pissed me off again and made me so sad. Like when you talk about data and research, I think it was like 1970, the last research was done. Okay, there's a recent one that's been done in Kiambu about women in the workplace and what they struggle with most and how it affects their work, which I was happy to see. But there's such a huge gap in the African narrative around menopause. And that really, really was one of the compelling factors that I said, we need to put a community together where we can share stories, because a lot of the protocols we're getting is from Western studies. And studies that have not been done on people who look like us, because for the younger generation, we want narratives and stories from someone who looks like me. I keep saying, I know Oprah for example, is talking about menopause and stuff. It's amazing, or Halle Berry. But what we need to know is, in Africa, it's a totally different experience because first of all, the treatments they talk about cost a lot. There's accessibility to treatments here that we can, Adele, we can talk about, hormonal therapy for your symptoms, but how many women
can
access hormonal therapy? Let's be real. Let's be. It would cost about 10,000 shillings a month. Which also brings me to lobbying and policy making, because insurance companies, where's the camera? You need to step up, right? And there's the people in spaces that can make, you guys can make that decision, right? Because at 10,000, 12,000 shillings a month on hormonal treatments, how many women can afford that? And then when you look at supply of hormone treatments, they're not, you know what? I have women who, I know women or have friends who are on hormonal therapy. They need to buy their medicine like 7 months, 8 months in advance. And why is that gap there?
It's the system is not designed to support women.
At a certain stage.
It just is. And I love that you bring
and they wonder why
up.
we're so angry.
and I love that you bring that up, because even if we say today, as Africa, as Kenya, we're going to figure out interventions that can support women during, perimenopause into menopause, like at all stages, right? What data is driving what is informing these interventions? And that's why localized data is so important, because the context is different, the culture is different.
And remember what I said about how the ecosystem on how you experience your symptoms is affected by all
of these things. Yes.
There you go.
I remember,
There you go. So when we look at our context,
which is different.
It's very different from a context of somebody in Europe and in the West, right? And that is major gap. Since we were talking about gaps, that's a major gap. Yeah. So our stories, our experiences, our data. I want to open Instagram and see somebody who looks like me telling me about the menopause, right?
And that's talking about locally sourced interventions, even if
in food,
nutrition.
Yes, right.
Because I don't want to read about things and have to start thinking, so what is this?
What is burdock?
Where will I find this in the market?
What does Brussels sprouts? No. You know, right.
It needs to have local context, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Which is why the work you're doing is important.
Exactly. So it brings me back to the community.
Yeah.
It's the best space ever.
I love being there.
I really love being there. Like, oh my God. Yeah. I love being there. Unfortunately, it's full because WhatsApp has a limit.
Yeah.
However, we do have a WhatsApp channel. But I'd say the best place to start is our platform is launching soon. So we can expand and sign up more members. So we are at online is the Ova Circle.com.
Yeah.
So it's the overcircle.com. So we are launching very soon. So we have a landing page there, which talks a bit about Ova, and you can sign up and wait list, and we can be able to have this information to all women and even men.
Yes.
Right? Because women, we do not live in an island. We live in a society with men.
And we'll need
so the
systems that support and understand.
Exactly. Because if you're really struggling through the transition, it affects how you show up in the world, how you show up in your relationships with your children and with your partners as well. And you know what? With yourself. That's the most important one, right? Yeah. So,
and so you guys, there's the information, but I know you also have like talks or forums.
So we have, we do events where we do talks and, we have some webinars up on our YouTube page, YouTube channel. Is the Ova Circle.
Yeah.
We're on Spotify. We've done a few episodes on what to expect.
Yeah.
It's also called the Ova Circle.
Yeah.
But the best place where all those links are is our website, which is theovercircle.com. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the work.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
Right?
I feel like you're talking about gaps.
Yeah.
And yes, that's very important to highlight them. But I want to kind of give you your flowers because you are filling in a gap.
Thank you.
You know?
Thank you.
And as much as women will come to the page and get all of the information, they'll also get community.
Yes,
I think is the most,
absolutely.
It's such a transformative thing.
Right.
When you're going through whatever stage of womanhood, when you know I'm not alone.
Right.
And I can ask, before I ask a doctor, you know, we do that, right? Before I ask a doctor, you'll tell a friend like, hey, I'm feeling na.
Yeah.
Having that community is so important. So you are filling in a gap.
It's really it's really important. Like, we cannot underestimate the value of community. Yeah.
So thank you so much.
You are
for coming on the show.
There's something I wanted to say, but I can't remember. You know, brain fog. I just remembered. Like, and then also I want to ask you. You know, sometimes I take over the interview. I want to ask you, like, okay, you've done conversations around menopause.
And mainly this season.
This season. And before, I think there was a lot of fear because this, oh my God, this is going to happen. These symptoms, even hot flashes, I won't sleep. But there's also, what I want to do is remove that fear of getting there. Because a lot of people come to me and say like, okay, when we see you or we see your page and how you work out and you're still strong at like 47, they're like, I no longer fear. So I think also I don't know if this is a question to you, but it's like more like, how do you feel? Because you're growing older. How do you feel? Are you prepared, or you feel like you're better prepared than the baby boomers who had no idea, for example?
This is such a good question because when I sat down with Dr. Kenya, I did tell her that first, we never ever used to even know about perimenopause. We only knew menopause, and
right? Just hot flashes.
We didn't know menopause is one day. We thought it's It's the entirety, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't even called menopause. It's like the big M. And like, when I turned 30, I was just feeling like, this is wonderful. Because I feel like 20s were the ghetto. Like, just chaotic nonsense, right? And then 30, I just started feeling a lot more empowered and a lot more clear about who I am as a woman. You start seeing all the ways society tries to like hold you back and like
put
the
in
lies.
a box.
And no sooner have I started enjoying than I start hearing about this thing.
Right.
And I'm like, guys, see, I want to enjoy the, please can I enjoy the third floor? But the more I'm having these conversations, the less fear. I don't even think there's fear anymore. Because the conversation is giving me knowledge. So I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what I'll expect. And the second thing, it's giving me options of like what's in my control. So I really think when I start experiencing symptoms, if I do, because there's also that, right? I'm not going to panic. I'll be like, okay, so that's what's happening. All right. Where can I go? There's going to be places like your community. So the fear has gone. But there was fear because there was shame and silence and no conversation.
Which also,
the fear has gone.
I think also I can ask you, since you've been in media, what I may be wrong in my observation, so you can feel free to correct me, but I feel like maybe it's a societal thing of putting women in boxes, but women as we age, they tend to disappear. So okay, so you said yes. So the challenge is to all women out there is do not allow yourself to be made invisible, because that's where the shame comes from, right? You live loud and proud in your menopause journey or whatever phase you are in, because that's what ageism does. That's what shaming a phase does. When they tell you, okay, you're no longer reproductive, then they want you to disappear and to go away and to knit cardigans in the village. But you gotta refuse to disappear. And that's what I've noticed, because I'd say there's some who've talked about their menopause transition, but I'm like, I did not know any of this. So I was like, where was this information, When
I was needed
it. So we need to be proud at whatever phase and stage we are. We can't just be showing like the we can, but we can show the anti-wrinkle creams and all that. But we need to show that this is a phase that we can thrive in, and you arrive at proudly.
And that you're valuable.
And you're still, you are so valuable. In fact, I think back historically, the women who were in menopause were actually now in cultures, they're the wise ones, that they would make decisions with men. That's how it was. We become wise. That's where those sayings come from. Like, I'm wiser now than I ever was in my 20s. So let's embrace that.
That is such a wonderful, refuse to be hidden. And refuse that shame, right?
Absolutely.
Just to live loudly to the very end.
To the very end. Do not go silently into that good night, baby.
So thank you so much for coming on the show. You're such good energy
and
for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you check the description, you will find links on how you can connect with the Ova Circle. Share it with all the women that you know could benefit from being part of that community. And if you like this episode, give it a like, share it with all the mannerless or almost mannerless women in your life, and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next episode.
Stay mannerless.
Yes!